For 3 seasons on MTV and 3 feature films, the intrepid cast of Jackass put their lives and limbs on the line for the amusement of audiences around the world. Headed up by ringleader Johnny Knoxville, the performers put themselves through all sorts of ordeals, from the dangerous to the embarrassing, to the supremely disgusting, or sometimes all 3. These days, most of the guys are in their 40s, and many of them are married and have children, a situation not many fans would have envisioned in the golden days of Jackass. Time may have mellowed them out a bit, but they're still the same crazy personalities they've always been, just a little less likely to launch themselves from a makeshift catapult or shoot themselves with a taser for the most part. Here's what the cast of Jackass are up to today. The phrase, "Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, welcome to Jackass," has long been a cue for audiences to brace themselves for some cringe-inducing hilarity. And as previously mentioned, it was Knoxville's profound lack of any sense of self-preservation that gave rise to the show in the first place. The affable everyman like Knoxville has subjected himself to more grievous injury than even seems possible. In a video interview posted by Vanity Fair, Knoxville rattled off a laundry list of injuries he suffered as a result of his profession. It took him 10 full minutes. He may have been the face of Jackass, but more so than any other cast member, Knoxville has remained very much in the public eye through a series of supporting and starring roles in films such as Men in Black 2, Dukes of Hazzard, and 2014's live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, in which he was the voice of Leonardo. He kept the Jackass tradition alive with 2013's wildly successful Bad Grandpa, and took the series' gonzo aesthetic into the realm of the scripted comedy feature with 2018's Action Point. He may be married with children, but Knoxville doesn't appear to be slowing down much. He's set to appear in the action thriller Above Suspicion later this year, and continues to work on film and television projects through his venerable Dick House production company. He's far and away the most visible, successful member of the cast of Jackass, and the franchise never would have existed if he hadn't had the bright idea to shoot himself while wearing a bulletproof vest just for kicks. Rick Kosick was a former Big Brother editor who came along for the Jackass ride as part of the crew both in front of and behind the camera. In addition to performing stunts in the series and all 3 feature films, Kosick also pulled double duty as a lead camera operator and cinematographer, which has led to a respectable post-Jackass career. He's worked as a cameraman on a variety of series for MTV including Wild Boys, Nitro Circus, and Robin Big, and has helmed videos for the likes of Roger Allen Wade, Smut Peddlers, and 3-6 Mafia. He's also a key staff member and content producer at JackassWorld.com, keeping the anarchic spirit of the show alive for a new generation of youth who want to see really funny guys hurt themselves really badly. Pro skater Brandon Novak is perhaps most recognizable from his stint on Viva La Bam. And while he never appeared on the Jackass TV series, he was a prominent member of the CKY crew, and also appeared in the feature films Jackass No. 2 and Jackass 3D. One of Bam Margera's oldest friends, Novak has unfortunately had massive struggles with drugs for nearly his entire life. As young as 14, he was kicked off the legendary Powell Peralta skating team for substance abuse, and he continued to battle cocaine, prescription narcotics, and heroin problems into adulthood. After cleaning up his act from 2003 to 2007, he relapsed, and over the next 8 years it would become a familiar story. After a long stretch of homelessness, Novak took one last shot at rehab in 2015, and this time he was successful. He's been sober ever since, and has co-authored an as-yet unreleased nonfiction book entitled Dream Seller about his experience. Jeff Tremaine was never the most visible part of the Jackass crew, but he was its most vital member for one simple reason: the whole thing was his idea. The former editor of Big Brother was inspired by none other than Johnny Knoxville, who pitched an idea for an article in which he, Knoxville, would shoot himself while wearing a bulletproof vest and report on the experience. This got Tremaine's wheels spinning, and before long he was recruiting the band of daredevils which would comprise the main Jackass cast. Tremaine was the series director and also helmed all 3 films, and in the years since he's continued working steadily behind the camera. He's directed episodes of ESPN's 30 for 30, Ridiculousness, and Loiter Squad, among others, and he was also the director of the excellent Hulu documentary Dumb, the story of Big Brother magazine. He's also been announced as the director of the forthcoming documentary The Dirt, based upon the collaborative autobiography of one of the world's most notoriously hard-partying bands, Motley Crue. Another founding member of the CKY crew, Brandon DiCamillo made his presence known in the days before Jackass, with his prank phone calls and amazingly comical freestyle raps, many of which were featured on CKY's video compilations. He's even released collections of his prank calls and freestyles on his own independent record label, and in the years since Jackass, he's worked with Margera on a number of projects, including Viva La Bam and Ming Hags. But DiCamillo also has an impressive title to his name: Mortal Kombat World Record Holder. In 2008, he achieved the highest score ever recorded on the classic arcade game, a whopping 10,226,500 points. His score has since been eclipsed, but he remains in 4th place all time. Without Bam Margera, there probably would have been no Jackass. The founding CKY member and pro skater was a key element of the show's success, with his gregarious personality and willingness to do practically anything for a laugh, and his ever-tolerant yet flustered family became the butt of many a prank throughout both the Jackass series and the films. After the show's initial run, Bam went on to have a successful career in skateboarding, and still skates for Element Skateboards, with whom he's had a professional relationship since 2003. He's also starred in the spin-off series Viva La Bam and Bam's Unholy Union, and has kept himself busy with numerous side projects, including co-writing and directing the independent features Haggard and Ming Hags. He's also publicly opened up about his lifelong alcohol abuse, which he says surprisingly resulted from an underlying condition, bulimia. Bam admitted that his primary reason for drinking was to curb his appetite, and in December 2016 he checked himself in for a successful stint in rehab. Now clean and sober, Bam is married, continues to skate professionally, and is the host of a weekly Sirius radio show. He's also teased a very personal project, a forthcoming documentary entitled I Need Time to Stay Useless, an examination of his life in the aftermath of the death of his best friend Ryan Dunn. Steven Glover, better known to the world as Steve-O, quickly established himself on Jackass as the guy who was willing to do nearly anything. Famous early gags saw him engaging in such jaw-dropping activities as piercing his butt cheeks together and riding a dirt bike directly into a pile of raw sewage. And if there was a truly insane stunt to be performed, it was a safe bet that Steve-O was probably the one performing it. His personality is best illustrated by the gigantic tattoo of himself proclaiming "Yeah dude, I rock" on his back, and he hasn't gotten any less eccentric since the end of Jackass, although he has gotten a great deal more sober. Steve-O has made plenty of TV appearances over the years, even appearing for 4 seasons on the Jackass spin-off Wild Boys with Pontius. But for a period, he was almost as well known for public intoxication and drug arrests as he was for his stunts and pranks. After being arrested for cocaine possession in 2008, he briefly spent time in a mental institution to deal with depression and severe mood swings, which he claimed resulted from his lifelong drug abuse. After a successful stint in rehab, Steve-O found purpose in a surprisingly noble cause: vegetarianism and the plight of captive animals. His most recent arrest in 2015 was not for drugs, but for climbing an LA construction crane in protest of SeaWorld. He continues to make sporadic appearances on TV and in films, such as the Netflix original Game Over Man, while tending to his YouTube channel and cultivating a career as a stand-up comic. And in March 2018, he marked 10 years of sobriety. Ryan Dunn was one of the brightest stars of Jackass, being part of the original CKY or Camp Kill Yourself crew along with his best friend Bam Margera. CKY produced underground stunt videos which would lead to the series' creation, and Ryan Dunn was known for being utterly fearless, being willing to try stunts which even the famously reckless Steve-O would shy away from. He was involved in perhaps the most hilarious segment of the first Jackass film, Ass Kicked by Girl, in which Dunn got into the ring with a female martial artist who proceeded to, well, roundly kick his ass. Unfortunately, Dunn's story is also the most tragic among the cast. On June 20th, 2011, Dunn was driving his Porsche 911 at a high rate of speed while intoxicated in West Goshen Township, Pennsylvania. In the passenger seat was Zachary Hartwell, a production assistant on Jackass No. 2. Dunn lost control of the vehicle, which crashed into a tree and burst into flames, killing both him and Hartwell. In addition to his castmates, an array of celebrities publicly aired their grief over Dunn's death, including acclaimed director Sofia Coppola, comedian Tom Green, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, legendary skater Tony Hawk, and the bands Kings of Leon and Alkaline Trio. 2013's Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa was dedicated to Dunn's memory, which lives on in the hearts of his friends and castmates. Chris Pontius is perhaps best known for his assortment of wacky characters, most notably Party Boy, who would show up in random crowded public places to dance to electronic music and nothing but a Speedo. Many of Pontius' other stunts and pranks would find him partially or completely nude, including the infamous sketch from the first Jackass movie in which a remote control helicopter is attached to, well, his most private of body parts. It was actually the sketch that got the film greenlit, but today Pontius spends a lot more time with his clothes on. According to his Instagram account, his major activities these days consist of traveling the world, hanging out with his buddies, and occasionally popping up on TV series such as Ridiculousness and the Odd Future created Loiter Squad. The vegetarian was divorced from his wife Claire Nolan in 2013 and seems to be enjoying living a relatively responsibility-free life and never being required to embarrass himself mightily for the enjoyment of the viewing public. He also joined Lacey Acuna in England on the Filthy Seppo tour and stars in the Facebook Live web series The Man and Boy Show with Acuna. Speaking of Wee Man, Preston Lacey's diminutive sidekick still hasn't gotten rid of the danger bug. He may be pushing 50, but he has an Instagram full of videos of himself tearing it up at local skate parks, and he can still shred with the best of them. On Jackass, he was better known for silly stunts like kicking himself in the head and dressing up as an Oompa Loompa, but he's been dedicated to skating all his life, at one time even having been the subscription manager for the legendary underground skate magazine Big Brother, a publication which is something of a common thread among the Jackass crew. Like many of his former castmates, he's made several appearances in TV and film in the years since Jackass, and in 2012 he even starred in the direct-to-video Christmas movie Elfman, his first appearance in any media whatsoever which could be considered family-friendly. But these days he makes his living in a slightly more tasteful fashion. Literally. He's the owner of Redondo Beach restaurant franchise Chronic Tacos, an area mainstay which serves up delicious food in portions which are anything but small. He can also occasionally be found out on the road with his Jackass buddies, telling hilarious stories from their glory days, if indeed they can be called that. On Jackass, Preston Lacey just had to try his best to be a good sport. He wasn't much of a stunt performer, but his obesity and tendency toward angry outbursts were always good for a cheap laugh. And he was also one half of one of the show's most popular recurring gags, the sight of Lacey chasing Jason Wee Man Acuna through crowded public areas while both were dressed in nothing but briefs. Preston also contributed numerous ideas for stunts to both the series and the films, and in the franchise's dormant years, he's had a bit of a tough time establishing himself outside of it. Although he's appeared in cameo roles in several motion pictures, including the 2006 comedy Pledge This and 2015's Up on the Rooftop, he still seems more comfortable being hilarious in the presence of his Jackass buddies. He's been known to try out new stand-up material opening for his friend Steve-O, and he also took part in a tour of Australia and New Zealand called the Jackass Filthy Seppo Tour, with several of his former castmates including Acuna and Dave England. You can catch him working on his act at comedy clubs all over the country. Dave England also ended up joining the cast as a result of a snowboarding injury. He actually lost a testicle, but he wasn't known so much for his daring do as he was for being extremely comfortable with gross-out humor involving bodily fluids, or worse yet, solids. England has referred to himself in slightly more profane language as the world's first professional pooper, a dubious title that he earned many times over during his time on Jackass. He's even claimed, although this is obviously tough to verify, that he's the only person in the world who can poop and vomit on demand. These days it's safe to say England has calmed down quite a lot. He has 4 children, 2 with ex-wife Joanna and 2 with current wife Shauna, who range in age from 6 to 17. This keeps the family man plenty busy, but this isn't to say that he's lost his mischievous streak. He continues to make prank videos, like this 2013 clip in which he set up a camping tent in the middle of a busy Tokyo intersection, and he appeared in the 2016 film Natural Born Pranksters, as well as TV shows such as Swerved, with former Jackass cohort Jeff Tremaine, and Ridiculousness. Also, if his Twitter account is any indication, he's managed to amass a pretty serious collection of vintage lunchboxes. The man who would come to be known as Danger Ehren caught his big break while working at a skate shop in Portland, Oregon. An injury had forced him into retirement after a promising early career as a professional snowboarder, but Ehren still had the daredevil bug, and he was known to film himself performing ridiculous stunts of his own conception. Some of this footage eventually made its way to Jackass creator and director Jeff Tremaine, and before long Ehren was made an offer to join the cast of the fledgling show. Although he always insisted that he was about safety first when performing stunts for Jackass, Ehren became known for injuring himself constantly, losing more than one tooth on camera, and for being the butt of jokes such as the infamous terror taxi routine in the feature film Jackass No. 2. After his success with the Jackass crew, Ehren came full circle by opening his own skate shop called Danger Valley in 2005. It enjoyed a 9-year run before closing down in 2014. He's also remained sporadically busy in front of the camera, appearing in guest spots on TV series such as Portlandia and Grimm. It's probably a good thing that he slowed down a bit. In an interview, he revealed that during his time as a Jackass cast member, he endured 25 surgeries due to injuries, which included no fewer than 3 broken backs.